Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special edition of Total PowerPhone. I'm Greg Sheehan, VP of Product at PowerPhone, and I'm joined today by Gary LeTourneau, who is our implementation team lead. So we're going to talk about a topic that has come up recently in the news. Like all of you, we follow the news at PowerPhone, and something caught our attention in the last few days, and that was the 911 call involving Paul Pelosi, the husband of Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. So over the past weekend, there was an attack on Paul Pelosi at their home. And it was reported that the 911 telecommunicator who had handled that call actually had to deal with Mr. Pelosi not being able to speak freely and almost talking in code to the call handler. So that got us thinking about some things we've taught for years in PowerPhone training. And we wanted to do a quick segment on things to keep in mind with those unusual calls. So welcome, Gary, and thank you again for sharing your time and expertise with us.
Absolutely.
So first off, in your career as a call handler, did you ever have a situation like this that you encountered?
I've had several or so in my career. One involved a gentleman calling up and wanting to order a pizza. 911, where's your emergency? Yeah, I'd like to get a pizza. You've got my address on your screen. Absolutely. That's kind of where skill and training and personal experience and those of others kicks in. And all right, this could be a prank, but let's give it the benefit of the doubt and see what goes on. So, okay, how many people are we going to be delivering a pizza to? Okay, 2. Is there any special instructions that you want? Any special toppings? Any kind of things to get the caller to generate yes or no answers, or answers that aren't tipping off the person that may be listening in on the line or somewhere else. You
have to make it seem a little real when they go with a scenario like that, right? You have to sort of ask questions you'd expect a pizza delivery person to be asking. Yeah.
But you want those questions to provide you information that's going to help the caller and the responders as well. So it's a quick job on the fly. It's very much a mental game that you're playing with real consequences involved. And once you get that call, you kick in your training, kick in your skills, and roll with it. Adapt to what the caller is, telling you.
I can remember too an example we used to bring up in PowerPhone training years ago was sometimes people, I think one caller we had called up and was insistent in talking to the 911 center that they wanted a cab. They were looking for a taxi cab. So, the woman said, I want a cab. The response of the 911 operator is, ma'am, this is 911. We don't have cabs here. But the caller kept insisting on that. And it sort of brought it to the forefront of like, oh, this is something I have to pay attention to or watch out for. So, it's a fine line too, because there are prank calls. That's another common thing that happens at 911 centers. How do you differentiate between something that might be a prank and something that's real? What's the key thing we have to keep in mind when we're handling calls like that?
Keep in mind a couple things. Number one, keep in mind the background noise. A prank call may be filled with laughter. It could be a bar scene, but a real call could be essentially the same. You also have to keep in mind, take nothing for granted, whether it's a 911 call or a 10-digit call or a text 911. It could very well be a prank, but it could very well be someone's lives is hanging in the balance of your intuition. Also keep in mind the 300 rule. You take 300 calls a day, they're all going to go the same except for that one. If you take a lot of calls, that your 300 could come up once a week, it could come up once a year. But you never want Murphy sitting over your shoulder and letting you fail. You want to swat them away. Keep in mind that, okay, I know we don't do cab service at 911. The public knows that. So unless they're really inebriated, that could be their code of saying, I need help. They could ask for something very unusual. They could ask to speak to Bob or Rudy, whatever. So as soon as that comes in, put your skills in training. Don't let it be the one that gets you.
Now, the other thing that occurs to me is when you get these types of calls where a caller can't speak freely with you, you might have to change your approach a little bit, because the common questions that you have to ask in most situations sometimes it's very hard to ask those questions and get an answer that doesn't sound suspicious to someone who might be nearby. What types of things do you do, or how do you change your approach when handling those calls?
So like in our software, we teach that our software has guided flexibility. You can adapt how you're responding to a situation based on that situation. First off, listen. Listen for things that are going on in the background that could be very well a tip-off. Don't take anything for granted. Again, use your skills and training, Greg. The caller could be telling you they're at X, Y, and Z, but the background noise indicates a very different location. So change your questioning to that. Oh, so you're calling me from XYZ, but that sounds like unusual music from that venue. Oh, that's because they're playing country tonight. So, those kind of things can play into it. Dispatchers see with our ears, and we strain to go out into it, listen for anything that's off. Maybe they're tapping. You can hear them tapping SOS. So, listen for all those odd things, but adapt to the situation. If they change how they're talking in mid-stride, maybe they're impersonating another gender. So whatever happens, adapt to it, move fluidly with the call. We want to get the best information for them. We want to get the best information to the responders. Don't ever assume that a code call or someone that may sound intoxicated is pranking you. Assume it's the real deal, always, and adapt to the situation. It can change 10 different times in a call, but keep adapting to it, stick with it, use your training, and be flexible.
Good advice for the modern world, to be adaptable, right?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, Gary, thank you for taking the time to share your experience with us. And thank you for watching this edition of Total PowerPhone.